Alan Hollinghurst's historical fiction, The Line of Beauty, 2004, was the first novel categorized as gay literature to win the UK's Booker Prize. Set in the vibrant and turbulent early 1980s London, the novel explores the underground gay scene amid the era's urban club culture, gay civil rights protests, and the rising panic over the AIDS crisis. It also delves into the political uncertainty and turmoil in Britain, weaving these elements into a narrative that is both ironic and tragic. The story begins in the summer of 1983, with narrator Nick Guest moving into the Notting Hill home of the Feddens shortly after graduating from Oxford. Rachel and Gerald Fedden are the parents of Toby, one of Nick's Oxford classmates, and their daughter Catherine. Nick is preparing to start a PhD program in literature at University College London, focusing on the style of Henry James. Although Nick and Toby were not close during college, Nick harbored a crush on him. Around the same time as Nick's move, Gerald is elected MP for Barwick, a town in Northamptonshire where Nick spent his childhood. Gerald's evident obsession with political power is symbolized by a photo of Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher in a silver frame next to one of his wife, Rachel. His ultimate dream is to host Thatcher for dinner. The Tories, Britain's predominant right-wing political party, lead Thatcher's parliament, creating tension between Nick and Gerald due to the party's opposition to gay rights. Nick, who came out at Oxford but has not yet had sex, fills the void in the intolerant Feddens' house by telling Catherine, their rebellious daughter, elaborate stories about fictional romantic escapades. During his stay, Nick makes many sharp observations about the Feddens' lives. Their social activities involve hosting recitals in their drawing room, despite their apparent ignorance about the arts. For the Feddens, art serves merely as a means of social advancement, exemplified by a work by the Venetian school artist Francesco Guardi above their mantel. Nick develops an ironic detachment from their trivial existence. Nick loses his virginity to Leo after responding to a personal ad in the newspaper. Leo, a black man in his late 20s who works in local government and owns a racing bike, meets Nick in the communal neighborhood gardens behind the Feddens' house, where they have sex using Nick's resident key. Exhilarated and terrified, Nick feels it is the best thing he has ever done. They continue their secretive sexual encounters in secluded public places. The section ends with Nick inviting Leo to stay the night, having the house to himself for once. The novel then jumps to 1986. Still in Notting Hill, the aesthetically minded and consciously pretentious Nick continues to search for his own identity in new ways. He makes only slight progress on his thesis about Henry James, having lost much of his interest in his PhD track. In a sudden turn of events, he meets Wani Oradi, a glamorous gay Lebanese millionaire heir to a supermarket fortune. Wani and Nick plan to start a production company, which Nick names Ogi, after what the 18th century English painter, writer, and artist William Hogarth called the Line of Beauty. Hogarth believed this shape was essential to understanding what makes things beautiful. To Nick, the line of beauty describes the curve in a man's back where it meets his bottom. Unsurprisingly, Nick's parents disapprove of his business idea, rejecting both his sexuality and his role as art advisor for a barely formulated magazine. Similarly, Wani's father, a comedic and vulgar man, is unimpressed and misinterprets Ogi as orgy. Ogi soon becomes a distraction funded by Wani's inherited wealth, pretending to be a production company and publishing house, but primarily serving as an excuse for cocaine use. The line of cocaine symbolically replaces the line of beauty that Nick once idealized for his future. Meanwhile, Gerald Fedden appears to have triumphed politically, as evidenced by Thatcher's arrival at his house for a dinner party. However, a year later, triumph is no longer evident for any of the characters. Gerald is on the brink of political ruin, having lost the 1987 election. Leo's sister informs Nick that Leo has died of AIDS, and it is revealed that Wani is also dying of a terminal illness, presumably AIDS. Hollinghurst uses sharp breaks and ellipses in the narrative to mirror Nick's damaging, idealistic suppression of his personal mistakes and difficulties. This continues until the very end, with Nick packing up to leave the Feddens, convinced that an impending AIDS test will be positive. Though occasionally humorous, The grim fates of the characters reflect the social malaise of late 1980s Britain, where widespread national confusion left no one truly triumphant. The ambiguity of the characters' fates reflects the author's ambivalence about whether living in the moment is a viable option in contemporary society. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.